Hello, everyone. I am Carla Sanders, the Cosmic Crone, and I am the founder of Dark Goddess Astrology and the School of Womb Wisdom. So, excuse me while I X out of these little random pop ups. There we are. Hi. Uh, we are exactly 3 hours away from the Pisces New Moon. It is at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time. I am speaking to you from the snowy, frozen wilds of coastal Maine in the Eastern Time Zone of the US. And I wanted to come live to talk about some of the lesser known features, we'll call them features, of this new moon in Pisces. And I'm doing this to give you context. Now, chances are you listen to your favorite astrologer or several astrologers. A lot of people like to share what's going on with the new moon. I work with Dark Goddess, which means the first place I look are the three Liliths, and there are three of them, and they represent different dimensions of our feminine power. Both male and female human beings have this. And I also work with the Goddess Asteroids, and I work with certain points that are that represent our healing journey, some of the deeper, darker aspects that we face as we go through our everyday lives, and especially when we are in an arc of transformation. And moments like a new moon or a full moon or an eclipse are moments of portals where they open a door to the energies that are lined up in the chart at that moment. So here we are. I'm going to show you the chart as I drew it. This is one. Let me see the best way. How do I want to look at it? Yeah, I think I like that. I'm just going to hold it. I can put it in the comments as well when we're finished. There's a couple of things not on here that I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to speak particularly about, oops, this point up here. There we are. I'm back. Sedna. And then that triangle. So the square, the triangle that's a red square, and the triangle that is a blue triangle are particularly important. I did put a version of this reading in my newsletter, which is posted below. It gets posted to my page here at the same time that I'm posting it to my email list. So you can look that up if you want that take. But there are things I couldn't talk about because there just wasn't room. And the first thing I want to talk about is this incredible resonance or synchronicity. The new moon, sun and moon conjunct at 9 degrees 41 minutes Pisces, is within the same degree of the United States birth chart, which most of us, I believe I drew it for July 4th, 1776 at noon in Philadelphia. So you might see charts that are a little different, but that's the one I chose. And in that chart, the planet Nessus is at 9 degrees, I believe 7. It's in the early 10th degree of Pisces. And so we are having this, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Do you remember the Me Too movement? It happened 2016, 2017. It was very intense, very much in the news and burgeoning. A moment where women finally spoke up about the way they were treated. It started in the show business world, and I think it expanded into all areas of life, corporate, business, health, all of the places where women basically were abused, raped, sexually harassed, had to buy their opportunities with sexual favors or made to believe they had to. And that happened during the United States Nessus return. Nessus takes a long time to go around the wheel. And I believe this was a second Nessus return for the United States. The first one was in the realm of, interestingly enough, 1895, which was during that last half decade of the 19th century, or yeah, the 19th century. That was the William McKinley presidency. And you know who seems to be very fond of William McKinley. Well, the Me Too movement and the second Nessus return coincided 2016, 2017, and that was the first Donald Trump term. And here we are again in a second Donald Trump term, which is shocking us all, I think, because there was a lot of naivety. And I won't go too far into the various politics of it. I talk about, you all know where I stand on various things because I am for the divine feminine. I am for, I believe that the primary sign of a healthy society is how it treats its women and children. What's good for the women and children is good for the country. And this administration and the culture that is around that are not believing that what is good for the women and children is good at all. So we're 8 years, we're a long way from another Nessus return, but what is happening is we are being reminded that energy is being activated because this new moon in Pisces is in the same degree as Nessus in the US natal chart. So what that gives us is a recognition that we are in a time of reckoning, that what we do personally, all of these charts, the way we work with all of this information that comes through in the oracles is personal inside of us as an individual. And then we expand that to influence what's going on in the bigger world. And there is something of a reciprocal nature to it. So this new moon opens the floodgate to personal, deep ancestral healing, healing the traumas that come to you through your ancestral line. And I'll talk about the planets involved, and one of them is Nessus. But what this new moon in the 10th degree of Pisces tells us that what happens inside of us truly expands and will have an influence on the nation and the world, the culture as a whole. It's also a trigger. It comes both ways. We are things that we thought were handled or that we've been ignoring or kept buried, can't be buried in this environment because we are confronted with it every single day. So this is the deep background energy of this new moon in Pisces. There are a grand total of 9 points in the dark goddess new moon chart. It starts with Ceres in the 2nd degree of Pisces, then the sun and moon together in the 9th degree, and then in between 18 and 29, there are 6 points. 5 of them are planets. 1 is the North Node, which is a mathematical point, but a very significant one. So the planets in order are Nessus, we've just described him. trauma healing, ancestral trauma healing, and it almost always involves sexual misconduct, sex abuse, incest, and may also segue into substance abuse. Saturn, which can be both the institution of the family, the patriarchy, the government, the church, or any religion, but it is also the sacred container of your life, the cauldron inside of you, where all of this work is being stirred together and alchemized. It's also a time where the rules are in your face, and in order to heal, you are very likely going to be asked to break rules. The rules of your family, the rules of secrecy and silence, the rules of sex roles and your personal role in your family system. So Saturn is right there saying, use me. I am powerful and I am here for you. Then Mercury. Mercury is communication. When I look at, among other things, but we often think of him as the one that sends the impulses through the telegraph wires or the cell waves or the fiber optics. And Mercury, let's see, he's about halfway between Saturn and there's an exact conjunction between the North Node and Psyche. North Node is what you are composting your life experience in order to fulfill a kind of destiny or a maturation, an actualization. So this is the general North Node, not your personal North Node, and yet it's carrying that North Node energy. And once again, it places the work that you do inside yourself gets spilled over to influence the collective. Psyche is the goddess. She became a goddess. She became an immortal, but she started out as a woman who I call her the hapless maiden who couldn't get anything right and who kept listening to other people rather than trusting herself. And through a series of trials, she learned to trust herself. And even though it was costly, she went through an initiation that was literally in the underworld and resulted in the death of her mortal self. She became immortal and became part of the household of the goddess Venus. So Psyche is one of the archetypes or the personages of the dark goddess astrology that describes one of the initiation arcs of the feminine. And then Neptune. And Neptune is the veils of mystery. Neptune holds, contains, and generates everything that is in the unconscious, altered state, superconscious realm, the secrets and mysteries that are behind the veils. And his invitation is always to be willing to go into those places, be willing to brave the unseen and discover the truth behind the veil. He also obfuscates and represents delusion and illusion. I've heard it described as 5Ds, but I can't remember what they all are. Deception is one of them. So he can represent that as well. And we certainly have had a lot of that going on through these last degrees of Pisces. But I see these planets as I emphasize the resourceful aspect. The negative or shadow aspect is a caution, be aware of it. And so what this cluster is like a 6-way conjunction in the last 10 degrees of Pisces. What it's doing is saying, have discernment about what is true. This includes the material that is coming from your ancestors that you inherited in your DNA, in your epigenetically, through the teachings, the patterns that were passed down as this is right, this is wrong, this is who we are, this is the kind of people we are, and this is how you fit in. Some of that's yours, and most of it is not. So there is discernment and what is really true. And I will say this, what is true is, first off, is your greatness, your magnificence, your gifts, your belonging, and the fact that you are a necessary person. So do not let anyone, past, present, or future, tell you otherwise. That is the litmus test to help you separate. That was one of Psyche's tasks. She had to separate the dirt from the seeds, poppy seeds, which honestly look like dirt. She had to discern what was the medicine and the food and the generative aspect, and what was the chaff, the garbage, the trash that needed to be blown away and composted, literally. So that is what we are called to do in the presence of Neptune, in the presence of Saturn, in the presence of Nessus at this new moon window. And I didn't finish about Mercury. The communication we're tuning into in Mercury is connecting with ancestors, connecting with both the beings of your physical lineage, your DNA lineage, and the ancestors of your multi-lives. We could refer to them as guides, angels, totems, whoever you turn to when you're looking to connect with what is really your deeper self, your divine self. We like, as human beings, we like to be in relationship and we like to have conversations. So Mercury is telling us to have those conversations with these beings and to listen for the truth. And the truth shall set you free. This is your healing. Now, this cluster in Pisces is in a grand water trine, and these are your other helpers. Here, Pisces, connected to, Mars. Mars has just turned direct in Cancer, and, oh, this is so backwards, and Vesta is down in Scorpio. So these are fiery planets, hot planets. Mars just turned direct. Now he's in the water, and somehow he has to be on a boat or he has to swim. He has to become a mer warrior. But he represents the fire of focus, that hot masculine warrior energy that goes after what it wants, that does the bidding of the goddess. Mars is listening to you for instructions. You are not at the mercy of Mars. Mars is in your service. And then that connection, that flow, that swirl of water energy from Pisces, Cancer to Scorpio, Vesta in Scorpio, she is the priestess of the sacred flame inside of you, the sacred erotic flame. She represents devotion and service. The service is to the divine within you, the goddess within you. And in Scorpio, she is shining the light on secrets, the things we don't talk about, the things that are, the patriarchy names most of them as sins: sex, money, the deeper underworld spiritual life, the connection to this unconscious realm, to the altered states that open up possibility. Scorpio and Pisces are great lovers. The Pisces is oceanic galactic. Scorpio is the embodied erotic version of that. And so Vesta, she's helping you go deep within to your cave, your holy of holies, to unveil the secrets, to pull back those Neptunian veils. And once again, discernment. Are these the secrets that you kept to protect the ancestors? With the belief, possibly, that they were protecting you? To hide sin and trauma and wickedness and bad deeds, wrongness? Or are these secrets the truth of how amazing you are that nobody wanted you to know because you shouldn't be too big for your britches, or you can't be better than your family, or you can't be different from the family? So these are the kinds of things that are available to you during this next moon cycle, starting now with the new moon. And this is, it's steamy. Think sauna. Think of being able to breathe in that hot air and to, it does not surrender easily to the intellect or to these eyes. It is a spiritual seeing, an intuitive knowing that you want to begin to cultivate, exercise, and practice. Let me check the time here. There we are. So the other major arrangement, the red triangle, there we are, which is a square, plus a blue line, which down to Pluto, Lilith, one of the Liliths, and Pallas Athene. The mind does come into this at some point. Sedna. And Sedna, even though she has just crossed into Gemini, she has been going back and forth all of 2024, second half of 2024, between Taurus and Gemini. So she's moving into an air sign, and eventually she will stay there. But she's still in this cuspy place. So she's got so much energy that happens as she's crossing her own portal. Sedna, for the details, read the newsletter. She represents the goddess of the deep ocean, and she is a creator goddess. However, she became a goddess through her death. She was murdered. Murdered by her own father. So Sedna awakens in us this sense of being unjustly treated, of being betrayed by the ones that we believed had our best interest at heart. Their duty was to protect us. We thought they loved us. We thought they were going to do right by us. And honestly, there are a lot of people in the United States right now, if not the world, who are having a Sedna moment because they thought that the person they elected, that they voted for, was going to take care of them and do good things for them. And it's not really looking that way. So in so many ways, Sedna represents a falling apart, a dismemberment, deep existential disappointment, and a major questioning. And she requires surrender. The only thing for her to do in the end is to fall to the bottom of the ocean, where she becomes divine. And her fingers, who were cut off in this horrible situation, become the animals of the ocean. So when I see a prominent Sedna, I know we're in for some deep work. And we can't sugarcoat the emotions around it, that sense of betrayal. It is one of the most horrible feelings we can have. And sometimes we may be in the place of where we realize we have betrayed someone who was counting on us. But chances are that also feeds back into I was betrayed, which taught me how to betray in this situation. So Sedna is locked in to a T-square with Juno at 0 degrees Sagittarius. Juno is the goddess of Mount Olympus. She is the goddess of the heights, the queen of all the gods. She's also the ritualist of the gods. And she also had an abusive marriage. Her husband, Jupiter to the Romans and Zeus to the Greeks. Her Greek name is Hera. But her husband, the king of the gods, was a son of a bitch. And he literally deprived her of children. He kept her locked up in a chastity belt so she would be faithful to him while he went out and had affairs with goddesses, mortals, demigoddesses, and fathered children with all of them. And she that often she's represented in her dark shadow side of jealousy. But once again, she's more of a crone initiation. She is a woman who woke up one day and said, I hate who I've become. This is not who I really am. And so she went away into an initiation to remember who her true nature as the ceremonialist priestess of the gods. And so she returned, and in her power, and everything changed for her marriage, for the people that she represents. She represents many things, especially to the Romans. The Romans adored Juno. She was the goddess of money, the goddess of social justice for women and children, the goddess of the sacred union and holy marriage. And she was, there was another one I've forgotten. She's genius, feminine genius, inspiration. The genius was the masculine aspect, the Juno was the feminine. So she is looking at Sedna from her height in Sagittarius. What's going on down there, she's saying. And there's a whole lot of projection going on and a whole lot of judgment potentially. And they are both locked into a square to Ceres in the 2nd degree of Pisces. Ceres is Mother Earth, the anchor, the one who holds us, who gave birth to us, and who feeds us. She represents physical, mental, emotional nourishment. And what this tells me to have this square superimposed on the trine at the full moon or the new moon, what this tells me is that Juno Sedna Ceres work is both a container and it kind of has to wait until this deeper mystical liminal work is done. We have to prepare to bring that queen of Olympus and the queen of the deepest oceans together and bring them together into a fruitful, reciprocal relationship with the earth. But Sedna has a little something else going on. Sedna is flowing energy to Lilith. There's a triple conjunction in early Aquarius, and it's Lilith asteroid, the embodied Lilith, the one who lives inside of us, and we experience her as disowned feminine power, power that is denied, going back to that Nessus and Psyche that we talked about earlier. Lilith in this avatar is pointing out how our feminine power was used against us, suppressed, oppressed. We were told it was bad. We were told not to let it show. We were told it had to be channeled into the patriarchy's use. That it was literally sucked out of us to uphold the patriarchy. So we have that Lilith, Pluto, death and transformation. It is time for something old to die. What is going to happen at this new moon in Pisces, the end of the annual cycle of new moons, die to whatever happened. It becomes a moment to review. What was 2024 like for you? Maybe it goes back farther than that. But look and see. And look with wide open eyes. Look at regrets, failures, and betrayals. Look at desires or things that went sideways or the unexpected. Celebrate what definitely went well and be willing to have some celebration around the things that look like failures, because chances are they are not really failures. They were just out of time. They needed out of sequence, not 100% authentic. So this is your time to take a look at all of that and let die what is ready to die, and let be born what is ready to be born. And this may be where Pallas Athene comes in as part of that. She represents intellectual strength. And so this year review is a time to use your intellect, and to do so strongly, to do so with a sense of neutrality and without judgment. And yes, with all this water, there will be emotions, and you probably need to have some cleansing emotions of tears or rage or grief, or joy or celebration. But you also are holding this container of, I am strong enough to look at this, and I am taking stock. And that flow is washing right through the square. So as the square begins to move, and Juno is an asteroid, as is Ceres, they're moving rather quickly. So by full moon, in the course of the next couple of weeks, this square is going to deform. Sedna moves very slowly. It has taken most of my lifetime, my lifetime up to now, for her to move for a sign and a quarter, all the way through Taurus from the end of Aries. So there's a lot more happening, but I'm going to stop here because this, and perhaps I'll have a chance in the next couple of days, or possibly early next week, maybe I will come back and talk about Venus retrograde, because Venus is going to retrograde over most of these planets in the last part of Pisces. It will take her till the end of March to get back into Pisces, or middle of March. But she's going to meet up with Neptune, Psyche, the North Node, and I think, I think Mercury is going to turn retrograde, but she's going to turn direct at the degree that Mercury is currently. So she's going to be reactivating this Mercury, North Node, Psyche, Neptune energy, and the trine with Mars and the trine with Vesta. Also, she's going to, this energy at the end of Pisces is flowing towards Algol, the demonized goddess. So the universal demonized divine feminine is also there. And while I can feel you asking, where is Black Moon Lilith? Black Moon Lilith she's disconjunct both the dark goddess, Algol, Magdalena, and Uranus, and the Pisces cluster. She's forming a yud. She is the point, what we call the finger of God. So she's holding this space, but she's leaving you to do your work. She's not directly involved in it. So she is in the last degree of, what is she on here? She's at 27. She's at 2700 Libra. That happens to be transiting my Neptune. I've got to look at this chart with my own personal chart. And if you'd like me to do that for you, Dark Goddess Astrology birthday sale, I'll put the link in the comments. And a lot of us, Neptune's slow moving, so a lot of us who are turning 70 this year she's sitting on our Neptune. So maybe that's what she's doing. She's going, for me personally, certainly, she's going behind the veil and saying, I'm just going to hang out here. If you want me, come and get me. So that is the Pisces new moon. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.